Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. P. I am reading chapter 17 of Finding Langston. 17. I waited for Daddy to give me a good whooping. And when he didn't do that, I waited to hear him yell. He didn't do that neither. He sat me at the table and did something I never seen him do. He looked at me in the eye and said, "We're going to talk, man to man. It'd be a lot faster if you went on ahead and gave me a whooping. You know, you can't go through your life fighting your way through life. Colored man got a whole lot of hurt they facing every day, but we fight everyone. We're never going to get anywhere. Bible says we..." Daddy! I want to stop him before he gets too deep into the Bible. I know I ain't supposed to be fighting, but Lyman just keeps at me. You're responsible for you. Your teacher said that there was a book. I told Miss Fulton I'd tell Daddy about the library. Might as well go on and do it. I found a library near the school. Hall Branch over on Michigan. A library? He don't yell, so I keep going. Libraries ain't just for white folks. This library's for residents. That means any folks that live in Chicago. I know what a resident is, son. Anyhow, I go there after school sometimes and get books. Thought you'd been playing with some boys after school, Daddy says, leaning back in his chair. They don't like me here, Daddy, and it just ain't Lyman, it's everyone. Maybe you need to stop going to the library and find some boys your age you can play with. You shouldn't be sitting up in a library every day. Library's the only place in Chicago I want to be, I tell Daddy. Daddy thinks on that a minute. Why? He asks. It's as quiet as Alabama. The librarian, Miss Cook, she's real nice, and she picks out books for me, too. I pull my books out of my satchel and hand him the Weary Blues book. What's this? Daddy asked, turning the book over in his hands. I found this in the library. It's a book of poetry by a man named Langston Hughes. He's a colored poet. Daddy still turns the book over in his hands like he didn't know quite what to do with it. Remember how you and Mama used to dance sometimes to the blues? I ask. His lips turn up at the corners a little. Daddy, the library has all kinds of books, and these books by Langston Hughes remind me of home and Mama. How's that? Daddy asked, serious, still looking down at the book cover. Because he writes poems about being colored and living up north but missing the south and feeling lonely. Miss Fulton likes his poems too. Listen, son, I don't know anything about Langston Hughes, and I sure don't know anything about any poems. Only Langston I'm worried about is the one sitting here in front of me. We're quiet for a bit. Can I read you one? I ask. Read me a poem? Daddy laughs. Just one, I say. Sure, go on, read me a poem. I try to remember how Miss Fulton read the words, slow and strong, and I open one of the books and start. The railroad's bridges, a sad song in the air. The railroad bridges, a sad song up in the air. Every time the trains pass, I wants to go somewhere. I stop and look at Daddy, but Daddy's just looking at his hands, and I keep on reading. Oops. Sorry. Homesick blues, Lord, it's a terrible thing to have. Homesick blues is a terrible thing to have. To keep from crying, I opens my mouth and laughs. Time I finish and look up, Daddy's just sitting quiet. Sounds a lot like the blues, he says finally. Yep, I say, but don't it remind you of back home? Your Mama, she was smart too. Head was always in a book, Daddy says, chuckling to himself. Mama liked to read? Sure she did. She never got as much schooling as she wanted. After her folks passed, she moved from kin to kin and couldn't stay in one school long enough. But she had an aunt. I think her name was Genevieve, called her Aunt Jenny. lived up in Ohio and would check in on your mama whenever she came back home, and she always brought your mama books from up north. Tried to make sure she kept her learning up. First time I saw your mama, she was reading. Daddy looks away for a minute and then goes on. And then when we got married, we had all we could do trying to keep up with planting and keeping house, and then you came along and wasn't no time for books. I think of the letters in the box under the bed. Did Mama like poetry? Don't think she knew much about poetry, but she liked to write. I can feel the heat rise up to my face. Some secrets ain't worth spilling. Look, son, Daddy stands up. Tomorrow you're going to go and say you're sorry to this boy Lyman. Yes, sir. He bothers you again, you walk away, understand? Yes, sir. What about the library? I want to ask, but I don't. Lyman don't scare me near what he used to be. We learned a lot about each other in the schoolyard today. Only thing scares me is bringing a ripped-up book back to Miss Cook at the library. And that's where we're going to stop, at Chapter 18, and we'll get to that next week. Bye.